Okay, you ready?
Action.
Hello, my name's Frank Loverde. Everybody's calling me grouchy, so I gotta look real grouchy.
Grouchy? Actually grumpy.
Grumpy.
I would like to thank you all for being here on behalf of my father, Frank Loverde. He would appreciate this gathering very much, since in my understanding of him, people were his favorite thing about life. He and I were once talking, and I remember him telling me that he didn't care one whit about scenery or geography or anything physical about his surroundings where he lived. He claimed that he could live anywhere so long as he liked the people that were there. This threw me, since I'm not like that at all. I'm all about location. But remembering this conversation in the course of writing this eulogy made me realize that I didn't inherit this part of him. But what did we all take away from him? I have heard of a Buddhist concept or teaching which invites the student to make a list of who or what they are. Frank was a man, a father, a veteran, a husband, an actor, a gypsy, and many other things. Then the student is told to remove from the list everything that is temporary, and the list invariably becomes empty. To me, this has always meant that what makes a person are their intangibles, their character, their integrity, their love. And while this empty list is true of the purely material legacy, I am reminded of the gifts he gave me and all of us that were his intangibles, those immaterial things that mean more to us all throughout our lives than any of those who knew him. Than any of those temporary things ever could. The gifts that live on in the lives of those who knew him and create a kind of permanence of their own, a legacy passed down through the generations. Frank was a charmer. As a child, I sat with him in a restaurant and I watched him tell the waitress how beautiful she was, how capable she was, and how much he appreciated her. I was beet red as I watched and expected her to laugh in his face, and yet she did not. She was as beet red as I was and believed every word of it. I had never seen anything like it, and I suddenly realized that the difference between words that I expected to be taken as hollow flattery and what the waitress received as sincere compliments was in the delivery. He meant every word he said, and he wanted her to know it and have a good day, and he was able to convey those feelings. And today it makes me wonder how a 9-year-old boy could have been so cynical. And Frank was a great storyteller. He could draw you into what may have turned out to be one of the most mundane and unexciting of circumstances and make it the funniest thing you ever heard. He had a million stories and a million different versions of each story. If you were his son, you heard the same story several times, and each time the stories would change. And no crime was worse than to interrupt his story and attempt to call him out on such an immaterial concern as accuracy. It was all about the moment for him, and he was a mystic in that way. My sister tells me that one of the favorite things that she got from my dad was the fact that she learned how to never feel sorry for herself. My brother, Emmett, told me that the favorite thing he learned from my father was that to always be inclusive in conversations of everybody around him. He wouldn't let anybody just stand there. Frank was, I never did get to my brother Joe, but maybe you can ask him after. Frank was always looking forward. Marie told me about that about a week before he passed away, Frank asked her if he could borrow the car. She asked him why, and he said it was because when he gets out of this mess, he wants to go getting in the habit of driving again. He was always growing, always reading, always learning, forever curious. He was a lifelong claustrophobic. I mean, I took a look at his urn, and I was kind of aghast. He could barely stand an elevator ride. He would not ride in one unless it was absolutely necessary. He needed to sit near the front door of the bus. He even needed to sit near the entrance of a cafeteria or restaurant if there were only one way out. He needed to know that there was an escape and that he could take it. And I'm not sure when exactly, but at some point in the past 5 years, he pronounced himself cured. And believe it or not, the man could ride an elevator, sit in the back of the bus, and take a seat in the restaurant without a care. And this impresses me beyond measure. He fought a lifelong battle with claustrophobia, but he never gave in to it, defeating it finally in his last years. And one of the last and greatest gifts he gave me is a deep and energetic interest in the mysteries of life. Death did not scare Frank. He did not consider it an end to anything. Indeed, it is a great step along the journey. There is one thing I do know about him as a certainty. Right now, he's hanging out with his brother Charlie, and they're both happy as clams.
You were playing the Duke of Albany.
The Duke of Albany, yes. And this was opening night of the show. This was at the Goodman Theater where I went to school. And I had this scene where right after Gloucester's eyes are put out and the king has divided up his kingdom to his daughters, and he's away with his retinue, and he's visiting his third daughter, Reagan. What was supposed to happen was a messenger was supposed to come on stage and give me some news about the king. And I looked, and there was Frank. He came on stage, and in his eyes was absolute panic. He just absolutely panicked. And I didn't know. I said, my God, this guy, he's going to faint. So I said to him, I says, what news? What news? And he says, what? And I said, the king. What of the king? He says, oh yeah, the king, the king. And I said, well, what of the king? And he said, oh, he's away, he's away. I said, oh, he's got his retinue with him, huh? And what of Gloucester's eyes? And he says, oh, his eyes. Oh, yeah, they put his eyes out. And I had to ad-lib most of his lines.
Boy, you guys. Oh, you got the life. Who? You who? The Marx Brothers. Laugh, 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 huh? I mean, what have you got to worry about? You suddenly want to take off to the Playboy Club to hunt bunnies. Who's going to stop you, huh?
I don't belong to the Playboy Club.
I know you don't, Felix. It's only a figure of speech. Anyway, it's not such a bad idea. Why don't you join?
Why?
Why? Because for $25 they give you a key and you walk into paradise. Listen to me, will
What are you
you?
talking about, Murray? You're a happily married man.
I'm not talking about my situation, Felix. I'm talking about yours. Fate has just played you a cruel and rotten trick. Enjoy it, huh?
Well, when I graduated from Goodman, this was a drama school, everybody went to New York. That's where the acting was. That was the Big Apple. That was where the Broadway stage was, and the off-Broadway. And so we all went. I led the parade from Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was in plays in Chicago, and I went to New York, and pretty soon everybody in those plays would call me and say, listen, do you think I should come? I was in summer stock with my son Joe. He's about 4 years old, right? And he develops a terrible cough. We're down in North Carolina, and Asheville, North Carolina. And down there is this big clinic run by this doctor whose son wrote the Darkness at Noon or Dr. Wolf or something like that. And he was an internationally famous pediatrician, right? So Joe is coughing and hacking away. So we took him to the clinic. The doctor saw Joe because I was in the play, and he knew, he said, yeah, I'll take him. And he gives him some medicine and stuff. So we took, and then we left that summer, and we went home to Chicago. And Joe was hacking away, and I said, we gotta go see the doc. And Margaret said, well, he was in this Dr. Johnson's clinic, you know, what's the doctor? I said, I gotta take him to see Angela. I can't let him be. So I took him, and we walked in, and Angela says, what's the matter? And we said, we got him. And the first thing he did was look at him and listen to Joe cough once. He says, what the hell's the matter with you? What are you walking and traveling with this kid like this? I says, well, what's wrong with him? I said, we just came from this Dr. So-and-so's clinic, and he gave us this medicine. He says, this is cherry soda, for Christ's sake. It won't kill him, it won't cure him. He says, he's got whooping cough, for Christ's sake. Nobody knew. Nobody at that time knew. I had whooping cough when I was a kid, but all he did was hear him cough once. He says, he's got whooping cough. Get him sick, get him well, keep him well, you know, Jesus. And about 2 months later, Joe was fine, you know, but he had whooping cough.
Come fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru. In Llama Land, there's a one-man band, and he'll toot his flute for you. Come fly with me, let's take off in the blue. Once I get you up there, where the air is rarefied, we'll just glide, starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear angels cheer, 'cause we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. Just say the words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco.
This was around the 50s. There were a lot of Goodman Theater people. There were about 6 or 7 living in the building we lived in on 24th East 24th Street. This particular night, it was after midnight, and Phyllis's sister called us and woke us up and said, there's someone that's trying to get in my apartment. And I called Frank, and Frank was down, and I woke him up, and I said, you got to help me. So he said, okay, I'll come right out. I came out with a big sword, and Frank comes out with a big hammer. And we're yelling up. We didn't know who it was or how many it was. We were yelling up there, come down here. We know you're there. And I told Phyllis. Phyllis came out in the hall, so did Maggie. And I said, Phyllis, call the police. The police came in about 10 minutes. So they found this little old man, and he was homeless, and he was crouched down, and he said, I didn't mean to do anything. I was just trying to find a place to sleep. Oh. Well, we had a laugh. It's our story for the year. I don't know how many police came, but there were 6 police cars. And me with a sword and Frank with a hammer. We had some great times. You know, he was a terrific guy. He, whenever we was in town or we were around the same place, we tried to get together.
You see, when we did the show in Chicago on stage, I played Murray the Copy with Tony Randall. And that's what he said when the show closed. He said, you know, why don't you come to California and I'll see what I can do. I'll help you if I can. And I said, okay, I will. So I found out that Tony was at the Paramount Studios. So I called up and talked to Tony Randall at the Paramount Studios, and I got him on the phone. And I told him, I said, Tony, this is Frank Loverde. I'm in town. I just wanted you to know that I'm here. And he said, well, here's what you do, Frank. Well, why don't you come over here and we'll have lunch? And I said, you bet. So I drove over to the Paramount and I parked and I went in and they said Tony was working and they gave me the stage number and how to get there. And then Tony and the producer of the show, Jerry Fisher, and he said, well, come on, Frank, we're going to take you to lunch. And they took me to the Brown Derby. You talk about wow. Anyway, and the only problem is that I had just done a show in Chicago for 11 months, and I was wearing a suit in that show. Now, I wasn't wearing that suit for 11 months, because every week they would send the suit to the cleaners, and they would naturally, and they'd also wash the linen, you know, the shirts and stuff. So, unfortunately, when I left the show, the suit, it hadn't been sent to the cleaners. So I still had it, and it didn't smell too fresh. It had also had a burn hole in one of the pants legs from one of my cigarettes. And so that was the only suit I had, so I had to put it on, and I'd go into Paramount with that suit on. And we went to the Brown Derby, and I sat in between Jerry Fisher on one side and Tony Randall on the other side, and I tried very hard not to raise my elbow.
God, I love Frank Loverde. I really, how could you not love Frank Loverde? He was one of the funniest men I've ever known. In addition to being a brilliant actor, I thought he was wonderful, marvelous in everything I saw him in. And he was also a great treasure trove of theater stories. He loved to tell theater stories. And he, I don't know if he embellished them or if they happened the way he said they happened, but listening to him, I could just sit there for hours. And I first met Frank in 1968 when I was doing a very small role in Barefoot in the Park.
I was in a play called Barefoot in the Park, and this was in Chicago at a theater called Drury Lane Theater, and the star of the show was George Hamilton.
And Frank was playing the telephone repairman, and I was the delivery man. And the joke is that, you know, they live high up in a building somewhere, up many floors.
The idea is that the couple that have just gotten married, they're living in an apartment that's on the 5th floor. And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of funny stuff about people going all the way up to the 5th floor and almost passing out, you know, from needing some air.
And I've gone all the way up these stairs to deliver a package. And when I come in, I'm panting and sweating, and the joke is that I can't even get the words out, and I'm holding the package out, and I used to ham that up as much as I could.
So he comes all the way up, and when he gets all the way up to the top, you see him walk in, and he's gasping for air, going, he's got, what has he got? Has he got an envelope or a package or what? A package. And he goes, here you are.
And I came in the front door this way, and I'm holding out this package, and then, you know, I'd embellish it a little bit. I'd start sighing and wiping my chest and everything, and Frank picked up on it immediately, and he would reach out and touch my hand and try to steady me, and, you know, we built the bit for about 10 minutes. It was outrageous, you know. God, I love Frank. He was a sweet guy, a loving guy, and a wonderful, he made me laugh every time I saw him. He put a smile on my lips. That's a real good man there.
Hi, this is Tyke, who loves Frank more than you will ever know. I have a great, great, great story about him. I just come out of college. I had my first big job, and I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Frank Loverde. This man, as an actor, I have never seen anyone on stage so beautiful, wonderful, alive, energetic, and fabulous, and he put me in harm's way. The very first time that I worked with him, he played kind of an Inspector Clouseau character. Of course, every day he got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but that's who Frank is. At the same time, we were working with a very lovely lady from Chicago. Her name is Martha. Let's fast forward about 3-4 weeks. We're in the middle of a show, and Martha forgot to pick up her cue. Frank left me standing in the middle of the stage. He sat there for 5 minutes making me improv the whole time. That is why I love him. And that is why I know that everyone in heaven is laughing their buns off right now. I love you, Frank.
Oh, you're photographing me panning like an old geezer? Yeah, thanks a lot.
Hi, my name's Alfredo Caravelli. My wife, Tyke, and I were fortunate enough to meet Frank back in Chicago in the Drury Lane days in the mid-70s, 75, 6, 7, etc. Never have either one of us met a warmer, nicer person and a more talented person. Frank, God bless you. We love you. We miss you. And you are a wonderful human being.
He ended up getting a job at a place called Outlaws. It was in Playa del Rey. And it became a meeting place for a lot of Chicago actors. We used to go there every first Friday of every month and have the lunch together. There could be as many as 15, 20 or more of us from Chicago. Chuck was the manager of the place, so we sort of like were allowed to be riotous. We made a lot of noise, and every one of us stood up and took his turn telling us some anecdote or some incident from school or from some teacher or something like that. And it was just a wonderful thing to happen every first Friday of every month. We had some nice big actors there too. We had actors from series and stuff that were working.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Are you alone?
Yes.
Good. So is. Do you want to see the show?
That's what I'm standing in line for.
I have an extra ticket.
Oh, how much is it?
Well, it's $9.90,
I'll give you
but
$15 for it.
you don't understand.
Okay, 20, but that's as high as I go.
No. Let me explain.
All right, 25.
$25. Yes?
Put your money away, miss. Now, miss, would you mind waiting over there? I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, buddy, you're coming with me.
What? I'm going inside to see the show.
Oh, no. You're going to see the police station. Now, you have a right to remain silent. Now, if you give up the right...
Why? You think I was trying to pick? No, I'm not a masher.
Yeah, I know. Now, you have the right to remain silent.
What is this?
Ticket scalping is against the law.
Ticket scalping? No, I'm not a ticket scalper. I was trying to get a date for my friend Oscar Madison.
Who?
Oscar Madison. There he is.
The curtain's going up. Did you get rid of the ticket yet?
Mm-hmm. Are you Oscar Madison?
Yeah.
Is this your ticket?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the two of you, let's go.
What is it? Don't say anything. You have the right to remain silent.
Night before last, I had a dream that I actually woke up and thought had happened, that I won the lottery. Now, I've had that before, but this was a big-time win of the lottery. And I was trying to get you to move up from Los Angeles to the Bay Area because that's where we were going to start dividing the money up. And I wanted you to get here so that, you get your share. I kept thinking about how much we should put away for Gianna and for Bridget and, that sort of a deal. It was just a wonderful dream because I believed it. When I woke up, I thought we had done it. And that's the name of that tune.
Chicago, Chicago, that toddling town. Chicago, Chicago, I'll show you around. I love it. Bet your bottom dollar you'll lose the blues in Chicago.